I didn't know what to do, but the double strung harp taught me. And then now I'm using that knowledge to teach others.
Hi, Cindy. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Victoria. How are you? Great to see you.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I am very excited to have you here because you are the first double strung harpist we're featuring in here. But before we get
Yes.
into all the nitty-gritty of double strung and your story of
Mhm.
this double strung,
Yeah.
tell us about your music journey. How did the harp enter the picture?
Oh my goodness. This is a great story, and I've told it to a lot of people, but I'm excited to share it with your audience. I started harp totally by accident. Absolutely by accident. I started my music journey when I was younger with piano and recorder and singing in choirs and so on. And then when I went to university, I attended Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, in the United States. I moved from piano to harpsichord because I had a big interest in music history. So after graduating with a BA in music and German and with a harpsichord emphasis, I went on to graduate school thinking I was going to study musicology and more harpsichord and so on. I made a minor switch to music education. And then at the end of my first year in graduate school, I had a hole that I needed to fill in my summer schedule. So I looked at the schedule, and lo and behold, there was a course called The Use of the Harp in Elementary School Music Programs. It was a sign. I
Wow.
signed up for this course. It ended up being a little bit of education and a lot of private harp lessons and harp ensemble and so on with the harp teacher on the faculty. And that was 1986. You never know it's going to sneak up on you. So that is literally how I started playing harp.
Wow, that is unexpected.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, that's wonderful. And you
Mhm.
know what? It's actually really, I find it really interesting to hear how different people's harp stories is like. But
Yes.
now let's hear about double strung harp. How did that enter your life then after you have gone through that harp
Well,
experience?
I like to tell people that it's a case of being in the right place at the right time with the right people. This is a harp that didn't exist until 1989 in Wales, and then didn't exist in North America until 1992.
Oh, wow.
So it was first invented, probably we're getting into some more double strung harp questions, but it was co-invented by Gwenda Davis, Davies, and her harp builder, John Weston Thomas. She is a singer and harpist who was interested in having something to accompanying her to play accompany while she was singing. And she was very interested in Welsh tunes and the Welsh airs with the echo effects that we have from multiple rows of strings from a Welsh triple harp. But she also wanted to be able to change keys more easily. You can't do that on a triple harp because it's manually tuned and you have to rely for accidentals on the center row of strings. Well, they worked together and invented a lever harp or lever harp as the solution. They invented a harp with two rows of strings, like the two unison outer rows of a Welsh triple harp, but then they put semitone levers, half step levers on the top of the strings so that she could use it like a lever harp and put it, I'm going to say lever, that's the US pronunciation is lever. It has levers on it to raise in the pitch of the string. So I have a Dusty Strings double harp behind me, and that's what I have here. It's a lever harp, but with two rows of strings. So this harp was invented first in Wales, and then in 1992, it was kind of like the big bang of double strung harp. There were two harpists or harpers, Liz Schifani from Chicago and Lori Riley from the West Coast, and they became friends. Fun fact, I actually introduced them at the 1990 Folk Harp Society conference in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And after they got to know each other, they had the idea talking together that they would love to have a harp with two rows of strings and levers on it. So Liz started working with Gary Stone of Stone Harps in Minnesota, and Lori worked with Triplet Harps in California on this project. So we had our first North America double strung harps. Now, Stony End still makes their harps. They have a range of double strung harps. Triplet only made one or two double strung harps or multi-course harps, and they no longer make those. This was the big bang in North America. And I had come back to the Midwest where I'm from. I was working in Chicago, actually at the time working for Lyon and Healy Harps and studying with Liz Chifani. So when she got the very first double strung harp, and I had a chance to see it, hers was made of cherry wood. And then I ordered the second one from Gary, made of walnut wood. So I tell people that I'm not double strung harp 1.0, but I'm really close. I'm double strung harp 1.1. I got in fairly early on. So long story short, that's how I started my double strung harp journey. And that was in 1992. So over 30 years now of making this harp especially my thing.
Wow, what a story. And you're right, right place, right time. And
Yes.
I didn't realize how young, relatively speaking,
It
the
is.
double
It
strung harp
is.
is.
It's a very new instrument, but based on very old ideas, not just the Welsh triple harp, but back before that, of course, the Welsh triple harp was based on Baroque triple harps from Italy that came from Italy to France to England, and then the Welsh adopted it as their harp. So it goes all the way back to Renaissance and Baroque multi-course harps. So it has a very old history, but very new with adding the levers to it, making it a real hybrid for new times.
Definitely. So you being 1.1 and has
Yeah.
been with the double strung harp for so long now,
Mhm.
tell us about some of the changes and how the instrument has evolved and how the double strung harp community has evolved in the years and in your eyes.
Sure. It's a small and enthusiastically growing community. There were not a whole lot of people who knew about it or had seen one, let alone started playing it for themselves. So that's part of the reason that I do what I do, writing the books and making recordings, doing YouTubes and so on, is to spread the word about this very, very cool instrument. Um, and there are other people who play now around the world. For a while, it was just maybe Gwenda for a little while in Wales before she moved to Australia, which is more of her home area. And then a few of us in the States. But then it started to grow, and technology has helped with that, with sharing things on social media. There is a Facebook double strung harp group. Before I came on, I posted some things to there as well as my own pages and so on this morning. So social media has been a great help. So being able to share things electronically has been a big help. But more and more as people go to festivals and have a chance to see them and find them out, they sit down and it's like, whoa, I got to do this.
Fascinating. Okay, this is not in our pre-planned question, but I'm gonna ask you. You have two
Sure.
minutes with me in an elevator. Tell me why I should consider a double strung. I'm already playing the harp. I run into you. You have 2 minutes with me. Tell me what's so special about this harp and why I should learn it.
This is a wonderful hybrid of an old design that can do so many things for new music. And having the two outer rows be unison, you can overlap melody and harmony in the same area with your hands without having buzzing or canceled out strings or having a traffic jam with your hands. It makes it a very naturally creative outlet for improvising and arranging and composing, which is another big thing that I love about it. That's one of the big things I do is arrange and compose for the instrument. And you can play just about any style of music on it. It's not just traditional Irish and Scottish music. It can be pop music. It can be transcriptions and arrangements of classical music. On my first CD, I have a couple of selections. One is a transcription of a jazz piano piece by Chick Corea. and another is an arrangement of a rock ballad by Duane Allman of the Allman Brothers. So there are no boundaries. You can do
Wow.
so many cool things on it.
And you just kind of indirectly answer one of my questions because I want to know what kind of music you can play or you love to
Oh,
play on the double
just
string.
about anything. I tell people play what you love and don't be afraid to experiment. There are so many fun things that you can do.
Okay. Well, let's talk about sort of your work with the double string because you're kind of an expert in this area now since you've spent so much time with the instrument. What were some of the sort of big problems when approaching arranging and playing a double string that you kind of have to solve and made it easy for us, for lack of a better term?
Well, I think that's a great way to describe it. My first big question was when I got this harp, I literally picked it up at a festival from Stony End in 1992, and I had absolutely no idea what to do with it. I faced the same question that so many people do when they sit down behind or look at a double strung harp themselves, which is, this is so cool. Now what? And it took me a good 10 years to, although the harp started teaching me. That's what I tell people. I didn't know what to do, but the double strung harp taught me. And then now I'm using that knowledge to teach others. So I started composing right away. And then it took about 10 years to codify, okay, how does this work? What makes this harp tick? And from there, over the 10-year period where I was wondering about that and putting thoughts together, I came up with 3 techniques that I believe that shows what the double strung harp can do. And it makes just having 3 techniques that you can use 1 to 3 of in a given arrangement or composition that really make it sound, I tell people, sound like a double, because that's what people tell me. It's like, what do I do with this? Now what? I've hit the wall. How do I make this harp sound like a double? Because they're still thinking in single row harp brain or whatever. And these techniques that I worked on for about 10 years, and then after starting to present them for another 5 years, led me to publish my method book for double strung harp beginners.
What a great way to kind of encapsulate that experience into a book. And we will have a separate video to talk about the details of the book because I'm going to hunch that there's going to be double strung player or new double strung player out there who is facing that same question. How do I make
Come
it
on
sound like
in,
a
join the
double?
party. Absolutely.
Awesome.
That's great.
So look out for that. And what are some of the misconceptions that people have with regards to this instrument that you think we absolutely should not get sucked into?
Um, well, I touched on this in your previous question. People think that it has to be complicated because they're trying to figure out with the 2 rows of strings and what do I do first and next and so on. They can be overwhelmed or mystified by this very different looking instrument, and you think there are so many different possibilities that you kind of think, oh, what do I do? And then, people are doing videos and talking about all these different techniques and so on. It actually can be easy. It can be simple to make this harp do what it's designed to do, which are the cool echo effects and other things that it can do. I don't know if this is a time to talk about the 3 different techniques or not, or if you want to save that for another question.
Wow.
Or
Maybe you can give us a little taste of it so that we know
sure,
what is it that you're talking about.
absolutely. If you uh, hear somebody playing a double strung harp, what you might hear most often is the echoing going back and forth between unison strings, like dee da dee da dee da dee da da da. Just the same, it's tuned the same way in the 2 rows across from each other. So you can play C, C, B, B, A, G, G, and so on. And that echo effect is what it inherits from its ancestor, the Welsh triple harp. So that's the foundation technique, which I call echo technique. Yeah, naturally, yeah, great name for it, right? Um, and that's the foundation. Everything else is built on that technique. After that, I have what I call split technique. You're moving from something that's absolutely the same and unison. Split is when you can divide a melody between two hands to help it out. I call it, it's like the the problem solver of double strung harp. If you're playing a fast jig or reel that has some repeated notes in it, you can give some of those notes to the other hand so that it helps out. Likewise, if you have an extended scale passage in a piece of classical music, yes, on piano, you can play with 5 fingers. Harp, not so much. Maybe you need some help for a few extra notes on one end or the other end of the scale. You can divide that between hands. It's another melodic helper. And then finally, we have what I call the combo platter of the double strung harp. This is overlap technique. This is when you put your hands together and you're doing totally independent things with hands. This is where you can introduce not only splitting the melody or playing the melody between two hands, but also having harmony come into play and doing things with accidentals where you might need to pre-tune one side of the harp's levers differently than the other, or maybe even accidentals while you're playing. There's a lot that you can do with presetting levers, but you can also, if you plan carefully, you could also do accidentals too. So those 3 techniques are what I boiled down after working with it for 10 years, and they're in the method that I teach.
That is so awesome. And what an amazing array of things you can do with such an unassuming, compact instrument, really. It's actually quite
Yes,
compact.
absolutely. And there were large double strung harps, and then there were really small lap harp size ones. And people may think that, oh, I have to get another big, huge harp to make this work. It's actually great if you have a medium size. This is, for example, this harp and the Reese double strung harp that I have. This has 26 strings on each side. My Reese double strung harp over here, unfortunately just out of camera, that I'll share in some other videos perhaps. It has 27 on each side. So it helps to have a smaller range because that requires you to get your hands closer together, and having your hands overlapping in the same range allows you to do those cool things that the double strung harp can do.
That is so wonderful. And I can see why you're so passionate about spreading the word about double strung, because it really is a little powerhouse that I think a lot of us need
Powerhouse is a
to
great
discover.
word for it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Now, so aside from Make Mine a Double, do you also teach regularly?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I had done a little bit of teaching from time to time before the pandemic, but that was, like so many other harpists, brought me to bringing my business online. And now I teach private lessons exclusively online when I'm not in person at a festival or what have you. I love teaching online because it's allowed me to bring the double strung harp all over the world. I've been able to teach people not only in North America, but also in Europe. And I'm working on bringing workshops and publications and so on to other places around the world. So yes, I teach private lessons. You can take a single lesson with me, or you can do a longer period of time. And then I also teach workshops. I did that not that long ago, and getting ready to do another series of double strung harp workshops also.
That's fantastic. And yes, you know what, as much as the pandemic had a lot of negative impact, I do enjoy that it has opened up access for a lot of us, especially in the harp community,
Yes.
where it's not nearly as prominent as some other instrument. finding a teacher who can help us with especially an instrument like a double string where it's
Yes,
even more wear. So having that opportunity to do it online, it's amazing.
yes, I
Yeah.
agree. Absolutely.
You have performed and present in a lot of different festival. What are people's reaction when they first come across the double string? What do people generally feel about this instrument in your experience?
People love it. People love it. There's like the reaction of wow, that's different or that's cool. And then they hear what you can do with it and the variety of things that you can do with it. Um, and for harpists, they don't always realize, well, maybe if they watch your hands and they see what's going on, or they know that, hey, that piece is really chromatic. How is she playing that? Getting the idea that's like, oh, all of the things like Dr. Seuss, oh, all the places you'll go. Well, all the things that you can play on double strung harp. It's been accepted at any place that I've played and has been absolutely great.
That's wonderful. What are some of your personal sort of favorite music that you have arranged or played on the double string harp?
Oh my goodness. It's like picking your favorite child. I
It's
can't
hard,
pick
isn't
one.
it?
Um, I absolutely love playing from a variety of genres. I've done a lot of music, traditional music. I've played Irish and Scottish music. And for Scottish music, the double strung harp is a no-brainer because you can play those bagpipe and fiddle ornaments, dividing those between two hands so that you can go faster and you can hear the ornaments more clearly. That can also happen in another one of my loves, which is classical music. One of the workshops that I'll be teaching at the Somerset Festival this year in 2024 is adapting classical music for double strung harp. I love the variety. I don't like to be stuck in one genre. I love the variety and trying out lots of different things.
Oh. Now you have sheet music in your shop as well. So if you were to suggest a piece to someone who is new to the double string out of your collection, which one would that be?
I would love to introduce you to a couple of my original compositions. These were the very first pieces that I composed for double strung harp. The first one is Walnut Welcome, which is the piece that was inspired by my very first walnut wood stony end double strung harp. That was the very first one that I wrote. And that is a piece that has a lot of the echo effect parts in it that might be fun for somebody to play. And this piece and the other one that I'll talk about, there definitely are more intermediate level. So it's helpful if you already play single row harp. And then if you're brand new to double strung harp, it helps that you already have foundation in harp technique, that you're used to, putting your hands on the strings and so on and going over to it. But it's a great intermediate level piece. And the other one is a slow air called Limberlost Angel. For people in your audience who might not be familiar with the word Hoosier, which is Hoosier, that is a word, nobody knows where it came from, but that is a word used for people and things from my home state of Indiana in the United States. And a fellow Hoosier is a naturalist and author named Gene Stratton Porter. That's Gene Strattonporter, Jean Stratton Porter. And she was a, a naturalist working to preserve the environment at the beginning of the 1900s in Northeast Indiana. And to help bring awareness to her passion for the environment, she wrote novels based on that area that were very, very popular. And she even moved out to Hollywood. They made movies on these novels. The girl could do it all. And she wrote some books about that area, which was called The Limberlost Swamp. And my Limberlost Angel is inspired by one of her books.
Wow, beautiful story behind the
Thank you.
music that you
If
like.
you can't tell already, I love stories. When I'm playing for people, when I do concerts, I love to share the background and the history behind the pieces that I play, whether I've composed them myself or I've adapted them from the stories and music of other people.
Any pieces for those who are perhaps more comfortable with the double strung and want to challenge their double strung abilities? Is there any pieces you would recommend?
Sure. Those are available more in my new series of arrangements called the Double Dozen series. And I have 3 books in that series so far. And those are great not only for people who have completed my beginning method book, Make Mine a Double, but also if you're wanting to add to your library, maybe you're really, really busy or you need a particular piece and you don't have time to arrange it yourself. That's what I wanted to create these arrangements for. So I don't have the first one here, the Double the Weddings book, but I do
I
have
love the name,
the
Double the Wedding.
Double the Weddings. Yes, so that's a collection of classical and Celtic tunes that are suitable not only for weddings but also for special events, so that they're great for background music. I literally play them anytime that I go out on a gig. So we have that, and we also have Double the O'Carolan tunes. Each book has 13. It has a baker's dozen. So we have the Double Dozen series has 13 tunes in each book. So we have the O'Carolan tunes book, which has 13 tunes by O'Carolan. And then I also have a Christmas book of Christmas carols. I know it's a little early when we're filming this to be talking about Christmas music, but it's there for when people need them. And then there will be other titles coming in that series.
Oh, that's so fun. And in the process of arranging and making these music, is there any interesting memories and stories that kind of makes you sort of reaffirm your love for this instrument, or things that we should know about that would perhaps pique our interest beyond what you have already shared? Because, you know, when you talk about being able to play chromatic music on a lever harp, to me, that's really a big plus, because you can never pay me enough to take a pedal harp outside of my house. That's just not happening for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Right. So is
Yeah,
there any other
absolutely.
interesting things that we should
Sure,
consider?
sure. Yeah, I did play pedal harp at one time. However, right around the time that I was, actually, it was just a little bit before the double strung harp came into the world and into my life. I was playing pedal harp. You can't see it on Zoom, but I'm not a tall person. I'm just a little bit above 5 feet tall. And I lived in an apartment building where I had to go upstairs to my flat. And having a couple of episodes of the harp wanted to do down the upstairs case and come back down on me, I started to think about my options about, okay, I'm already playing lever harp as well. So that kind of led me to being a champion of lever harps and smaller harps and so on. Definitely there are some things that are not really as easy to do on lever harps. We're probably not going to play Wagner operas and maybe some Debussy pieces and so on. Some of it is just going to be, we can give that to the pedal harp, but there are a lot of things that you can do on lever harps, and especially with being able to preset levers differently, having a scordatura, if you will, between the two rows of the double strung harp. And I'll tell a story on myself. From the weddings book, I've included a piece. This is the one that really stands out for me. It's like, yes, this is why I do this, because I can make things happen. I never told a wedding couple that I would play the Mendelssohn Wedding March for them. I didn't want to deal with the lever changes. I absolutely didn't. So I never mentioned it. I never put it on my playlist. I never did it, whatever. However, in the Double the Weddings book, I have an arrangement of the wedding music, the wedding march from Mendelssohn's Midsummer Night's Dream. And because the levers are set with the notes that you need, you do not have to change levers in the entire piece.
Amazing.
That was a game changer for me, figuring out that, yes, I can finally play this piece and I don't have to change any of those stinking levers. It all worked out. So that's an example that I tell on myself, and with a little bit of humor involved, of course. Now I can play that piece and so many others because there are things that you can do on this harp that don't work on other harps. And you can take advantage of those things and also have a smaller instrument that fits in the back seat of my car, and I just, off you pop. And it makes a lot of things doable and more easily doable.
That's awesome. And something I have noticed about you, because we have been talking leading into this conversation, is your passion and your love for the instrument and your desire to bring it to the world. And I think that's fantastic, because I honestly know so little about double strung harp until we had this conversation, which really gave me more motive to to acquire one. Hopefully that will be
Join
one
the
of my
club,
future
Victoria.
harps.
You should get one.
I definitely should. Now, that also make me wonder, how can I stay in touch with sort of what you're doing? What are some of your exciting projects that are coming up? How can we keep in touch with what you're doing with
Oh,
double
I would
strung
love to
harp?
tell you about that. And we have great timing, because just this morning I launched something that I've been working on for a while. It's a great introduction to those three techniques that I talked about in answering one of your questions earlier. It is a guide for those people who are, they've hit the now what wall, and they're overwhelmed, they're mystified, and think that it's like, what do I do now? And yeah, I'm telling people once again that double strung harp doesn't have to be complicated. So I've created this guide. It's called 3 Simple Ways to Sound Like a Double. And it's a PDF download that's available. And it's a great introduction to those techniques and to the techniques that I go on and use in my method book called Make Mine a Double. So we have this brand new guide that I'd love to tell your audience about, and it is available if you go online to soundslikeadouble, all one word.com. You can go there and sign up for my list, and you'll get that download that gives you an introduction to it. So I've sent it out to the people already on my mailing list, and it's now available for new subscribers as well. And if you go to my website, cindyshelhart.com, on every page, there's going to be a place where you can click that link to get that download for the guide.
And is your website, I know you also have a YouTube, are those sort of where we would be able to keep in touch with your latest and greatest?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I try to get a bi-weekly newsletter out to folks and do weekly videos. Some of them are performing videos. Some of them are information or education or talking like we're doing today, that kind of thing. So it's a blend of things.
Lovely. And what is your hope in the double strung world? If in 10 years, where would you like the double strung harp to be? I'm going to close this conversation with this question.
Oh, heavens. I want it to grow. I want it to grow, and I want the rest of the harp world to know that this isn't just a novelty. It's a legitimate instrument that can play legitimate music. just because it's new and it doesn't have a lot of music specifically composed for it yet, doesn't mean that we can't do what harpists have done since the beginning of harp history, which is adapt and transcribe and play music from other instruments and voices on this instrument. That was a big part, and is still a big part of the classical repertoire. And traditional harpers play music from other instruments. Scotland, for example, the harp is one of the three national instruments of Scotland, along with the fiddle and the pipes. Harpers play music from the fiddle and pipe repertoire. Just because this harp is new doesn't mean that it's just a novelty or a, oh, that's cute kind of thing. It is a legitimate instrument, and I want to see it grow and be recognized as such.
As you're saying that, I've thought about what Bill Taylor, one of our interviewer, has said about the harp. There is no one harp. There's no one standard harp. There are so many different
Bill is
harps.
so right, and he'd be a great one to say that. That is so very true. This is a member of the harp community for sure.
Yeah, and I also think about the innovations and the creativity that comes from the makers that then make
Yes.
the players
Oh,
even more
yes.
creative.
Yes. God bless the luthiers. There are now, from those few builders who made harps in the beginning, there are so many builders that are creating very wonderful quality instruments now, building double-strung harps in different sizes, different ranges, and with different levers, taking advantage of all the things that we know about in technology. There are even luthiers that are building the double-strung harps from carbon fiber, as well as the wood bodies. And Dennis Waring from the United States, who has the wonderful kits where you can build a harp or have one ready-made for you that has a cardboard body and then the wooden neck and pillar. Those are available in double-strung harps as well. So that is another way to get started. So God bless the luthiers. They make it all happen for us, for sure.
And I'm very grateful for people like you who continue to push the boundaries of our instrument and showing us what we can do with the harp. And we keep calling it the harp, but really it's the harps because there's so many different
Yes,
harps out there.
plurality,
Yeah.
community of many, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Cindy, for coming here to share your journey with the double strung harp with us and also talk about your work. I hope that our audience feel inspired to give double strung harp a try. And I know of a couple of our audience who are double strung player, and definitely check out Cindy's work and her resource for playing the double strung. I'm going to put some links to the resources that she have mentioned in the video description. And I look forward to having you back here again.
Thanks, Victoria. It's been a pleasure.